What You Gotta Do is on now. Hello, and welcome to What You Gotta Do podcast with your hosts Cody and KT, where we discuss relatable topics and inspire one another to live a simple, abundant life. Top of the morning to you, Cody. Top of the morning.
Good morning. I'm doing great. Top of the morning to you as well.
Well, we have a super incredible guest today, and I was so fortunate to have crossed paths with her, just to meet her. And now she's on our show, and we are so lucky to be able to learn about her and about her company that is doing really incredible things. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Angela. Following 4 years of R&D at the University of Cambridge in England, CEO and founder Angela Hood returned to Austin, Texas to build This Way Global Inc., a company that converges technology with talent networks, not just job boards, to unlock human potential. Today, This Way is one of the fastest growing SaaS, SaaS, automation companies in the world, serving over 5,000 company customers. This Way provides unbiased talent matching and sourcing through its proprietary network of over 3,500 unique, diverse talent connections. Angela is a well-respected thought leader and international keynote speaker on the topics of mitigating bias using artificial intelligence and ROI of diversity and human-centric automation. While many know This Way through their acceleration by Google, Angela Hood is also the technology advisor for the board of directors of Consort Institute at Clark Atlanta University. Her groundbreaking work is covered in Simon & Schuster's book, Hack Recruiting, and she was also recognized by IdeaSpace, University of Cambridge, and Texas A&M University as outstanding alumni in 2021. I'm so excited. Welcome, Angela Hood.
I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you. I'm having a great morning and love being able to start it off with both of you.
That's very, very sweet. So I just want to have you tell us and explain us what you do, how you got started. KT read off a lot of things on your bio, but I just want to hear what you do. Summarize that for us.
So I think of myself as a bit of a director at an orchestra because I have an incredible team that each are experts at their own very specific thing that they do. And I'm fortunate enough that they allow me to lead them because it is definitely their choice to do that. They could go anywhere and work probably in any technology company that they wanted to, but they pick to do what we do. So I'm very, very fortunate to have them. The thing that we do is we match people to jobs without bias. And we do that for over 5,000 companies and work with millions of people. And it's a privilege, especially in the current economy, to be at such a pivotal point in our developmental history as far as a nation and this transition that we're going through as a world right now to recover from the pandemic. And we get to lead in that. And that's a very exciting place to be. Also can be very challenging.
I was just talking to some women yesterday, and we were talking about starting a business and what that looks like, and the difference of linear growth, how it was kind of the old school way. Now it's exponential growth. You tap into those different markets, and you have people with those specialties, and it just sounds like that's what your company has done. You said you started in 2013. You had one connection, or what?
We were in R&D back then, so we didn't even really have. We didn't know what we were going to be doing as a business. We were trying to solve the problem, and one of the things that I think people overlook, especially when they're starting a business, is you need to be a painkiller, not a vitamin. And so you've got to identify what truly is the pain in the market that you can uniquely satisfy better than anyone else. And so one of the things we kind of discuss is what is your unfair competitive advantage? And you kind of have to have that, especially if you're small and you're going to kind of bootstrap to begin with, which is what we did. We bootstrapped for a number of years. And And then we eventually took on capital from investors, which helped us get the exponential growth. But it is hard to get exponential growth without investing ahead of your revenue growth. And so that's why the investors play such a critical role in our ability to grow, because I can hire the best talent before I have the revenue to support it. And that timing is very critical to have exponential growth.
I agree. That's so interesting. And then can you talk about a bias? I mean, that's something that we talked about on our call just briefly. So we all have biases, but you told me, can we talk about a few of them that are
Sure.
common?
Yeah. So bias, first of all, it works bidirectionally, meaning companies are the ones we usually talk about, that, recruiters are biased or hiring managers are biased, companies are, whatever. But what we also don't talk about is that candidates are biased. And the duality of that is really what causes the conflict when we're trying to identify the job that we're going to be really happy at, or the company we're going to be happy at, versus one that we think that we're going to be happy at. And one of the ways we identified the candidate bias is we had job descriptions from two companies. One is one of the best known companies in the world. I would say every single person probably has bought something from them. And another one was one of the biggest car rental companies that are pretty much global, very heavy in the US and Europe. And they both had jobs that were open called GPS engineering, so global positioning system engineering jobs. Mm-hmm. And for a GPS engineer, these are, as you can imagine, not a ton of these jobs come open. So when they do come open, they get a lot of visibility by the people that are qualified to do them. And one of the jobs was, well, so let me backtrack 1 second. So both of the jobs were in England, and they were roughly about 5 miles from each other, right? The pay was almost identical. The benefits were better at the car company than they were at the other company, and e-commerce, we'll say that. And what we noticed was the brand for the e-commerce company was much better known for being innovative. But if you actually read the job description of the car rental company, that job was much more innovative, offered a lot more growth, a little bit better pay, better benefits, and was going to be a job that if you just looked at the job itself, you would say, well, that's definitely the better job.
Right.
But both get launched, and about 1,200 people apply for the e-commerce company's job, and somewhere around 20 applied for the car rental. They were advertised exactly the same way, same places, same days. Everything was identical because it was run as a scientific experiment would be run. You have you're managing your variables. And what we looked at was that the people that had applied for the car rental agency had also applied for the other one. So those were people that almost applied for everything that was GPS. They just applied for it. But there was a whole bunch of people that applied for the e-commerce job that had not even bothered with the other one. So we decided to interview all of them, which was a very long task. And what we found is most of them had seen the other job. They just decided not to apply for it because they did not think they had a sexy brand.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to use that term. It wasn't sexy enough for them. Yeah.
And it was just the brand. So we thought, okay, so this brand awareness and this brand affiliation that an individual has is really determining a lot of their future because they like this one brand better than the other one. So we said, okay, can we convince you to talk to both companies? And they talked to both companies. Then they gave us feedback afterwards. After having the conversation with the companies, the vast majority, all but 11 people, said that they would have preferred to have the car company job rather than the e-commerce shop. And
That's-
it's
wow.
it's we end up
Marketing
hurting
works.
ourselves, as individuals. We hurt ourselves because of this bias. But this bias extends to, they have a bias that they won't like their boss, or they have a bias that they don't like the causes, social causes that the company stands behind. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So that's the candidate bias that I think is almost never talked about. And I always try to encourage people, when you're looking for a job, think outside of where your brain thinks that you want to go to work, because you have built up a vision of what that's going to be like if you were to be an employee for them. And I would say rarely is that vision accurate. It might be better, might be worse, but it's not accurate. And so your vision about the companies that you've not thought about is also just as inaccurate.
Right.
And so being able to kind of consciously admit that we're all biased is number one, and then consciously say, I'm going to do something about it, will open your opportunities and open your possibilities up in ways that you would not have experienced before. And then the bias that we all probably think about more commonly, like I said, is the company or recruiter or hiring manager bias. Essentially, as humans, we bring 500 biases to every conversation, and about 188 of them directly affect recruitment conversations very specifically. And when you allow those biases to play a role in your evaluation of candidates, you end up missing extraordinary talent. And so it's one of the things our system does is you don't know the person, you don't know their name, you don't know their ethnicity, you don't know their gender, you don't know what university they graduated from. There's all of these things that we conceal, but you are still able to see the skills, the experience, the type of work that they've done, the things that they're passionate about. And when people select based off of those attributes, they select different people. And now we have our customers that say, I would never go back to the way I used to do it because I was overlooking talent left and right that we really, really needed.
That's incredible. Can we go back to the 500 biases? So you're saying when each person, like each individual has at least, they bring 500 with them.
Yeah. 500.
That's incredible. Not realizing it.
Every conversation. Like this is not just a recruiting thing. This is a human thing. And it stems from our anthropological beginnings. So we, early man sees his buddy getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And it's like, okay, right. Tigers are bad. I don't like tigers. I also don't like other things that look like tigers. And, and then it expands and it's like, I really like these things are cuddly. These things don't try to eat me. I'll keep those closer. And so we start making these divisions as early man. Those get baked into us as just our human instincts, our survival instincts. Absolutely critical that we have them. It's also the thing that when someone is behind you and you get kind of like a weird feeling on the back of your neck, or you interact with someone that you don't trust, You don't know why, but there's something that is like shouting at you, get away from this person. Those are somewhat irrational because it's baked into you. You might be right or wrong, but you still feel it. Well, the same thing is what we do when we meet candidates. So unfortunately, the thing that probably protects us in our personal life and helps us select life mates that would be good for us and helps us pick friends and even our favorite restaurants. A lot of what we like about restaurants is the ceiling heights, the color of the walls, the lighting. Do you look good when you're in the room? All these kinds of things. These are all biases. But when you apply them in the workforce and you keep people from being able to put food on their table and roof over their head, that is wrong.
And therein lies your passion.
Can I ask you, Angela, what made you really think about this and get into it and want to pursue this psychology, really?
Yeah, I mean, so it started off as something. So this is what I was saying earlier. It's really important to define the problem when you're starting a business. Like, this is the problem and this is the problem I'm solving, and be able to tie your solution directly back to the problem. So when I was identifying the problem, it was actually very difficult. All I could see was people were having trouble finding jobs that they liked, and employers were having trouble finding the people they wanted. So it's not a supply and demand issue. It is a math problem. And so once I knew it was a math problem, I was like, okay, so this should be solvable. Doesn't mean it's going to be simple.
Right.
Going to the moon is a math problem. Doesn't mean it's simple, but it does mean it's solvable. And so that's the part that really intrigued me by it. I was like, okay, I think I can solve this. But I also knew I was going to need people that were incredibly intelligent. And I wasn't quite sure what type of people, but I knew I would need a lot of them. So fortunately, I was able to get into incubation at Cambridge University in England, where there's incredible people. And we have access to the entire university. When you're there, there's a number of different colleges. I worked with psychology, anthropology, and then other business, obviously. But you have to, if you're trying to solve a problem that has to do with humans, you have to understand human behavior and not personality assessments, which we don't use them. There's a lot of reasons why. We wanted to take it back 4 more layers than that. Like, what is the human doing? Why do we have the bias? And what can we do about it? We evolved into what we are today. But the reason why I even knew that this was a problem is when I was going out into the workforce as a female engineer, I thought that the world was going to be equal for me. Like, I don't think I really had any idea that I was unique. And my specialty at the time was construction and actually out in the field. And I don't know. I don't think I understood how unique it was for me to want to go into that job. And so when I started applying for jobs and my name, Angela's, up at the top, I wasn't getting any calls back. And I had, great references and a good GPA and this whole thing. My friends that were men were having no problem. And so my mentor suggested, use your initials, which are AL, very conveniently, and use that to apply for the jobs. And soon I would apply with the same resume to the same company for the same
That's
job.
incredible.
And I would get a call back immediately. And I realized, okay, the world is not as I thought it might be. And I have my husband is a retired Marine fighter pilot. He had all kinds of weird biases applied to him when he got out of the Marine Corps. The VA system that they use, the Veterans Administration based system that's matched him to a women's shoe salesman job at Macy's.
Are you kidding me? That's insane. He has been serving our country, and you can be a shoe salesman.
Although, can I say I've seen her husband, and I would probably buy anything he was selling, to be honest. Let's be honest. But yeah, I get what you're saying. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Katie. You've seen him, right? So can you imagine that person? Like, okay, I'll take 10 shoes. Yeah. I'll take 10 pairs. But it's I don't know, it's frustrating. And so what evolves in my life is it starts with that, and I see that with my husband, and then my daughter is gay, and then I have a son who's a Navy diver, and all of them have experienced different things that are all related to this. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not just our family. So I started talking to other people, and I don't think I've ever met a person, including white men. And this is the thing I think that we've got to be very clear about. Bias affects white men. Like, it affects everyone. And it is not something that we need to be thinking about like, oh, we should remove bias because we want to help a certain ethnicity. That's not it. We need to remove bias just to level the playing field. And what, years and years of matching and years of results and helping so many companies over the course of almost a decade now, I can tell you that incredible people exist in every socioeconomic, ethnicity, all of it. And talent is overlooked on a regular basis for some of the most bizarre reasons that you could possibly imagine. But it's because we're weird, we're human.
I think that's so fascinating. Anything with human behavior is just so intriguing. You can learn so much by watching it, but good grief, I didn't realize how much. It's an awareness it's like a whole nother level of awareness brought out from this conversation. I don't know. It has my mind spinning a little bit.
So what I was thinking when you were talking about all this, I can remember, I'm old enough to remember when the want ads separated men jobs from women want ads and
Right.
male, and how
No.
far you've
Right.
come. Like, I feel like I've never heard of this before. You're state of the art. Why wouldn't every business want to do, your model, how you do it? That's awesome.
So how do companies engage you? How do they go about that? Or how do they learn about you? Or, I mean, they obviously, I think it
Yeah,
seems like they're seeking you out at this point.
they are. It took a long time for us to get here, so I don't want it to make it sound
It just
like
came out overnight, like you snapped your fingers.
no, no. Our company has had at least 3, maybe 4
Yeah.
near-death experiences along the way, and there was a point in time where, uh, fortunately, it's been a long time ago, but we were down to 36 cents in our company
Wow.
account. Yeah. Yeah. And we knew the money was coming. We knew that. We knew like we had deals that we had closed and the money was inbound. But and by 2 o'clock the next day, we were back, online again. But it was very scary. And I try to always tell people that because it's super easy for us as founders to make it sound like it's been a cakewalk or that we've always been successful. And the truth is that I don't, I'm sure there's a few cases, but I know a lot of founders and we all talk about the dirty just between us. And it's most of us have endured something like this. So that's the big part. Yes, they are coming to us now. When we were accelerated by Google, that really helped us have greater visibility in the market. That was, really appreciative. But we also learned a lot from them. We just learned some things to do that we didn't know how to do, or maybe we were doing an okay job at, and they improved our performance in some areas. We just announced a partnership with IBM a couple of weeks ago. I was on Bloomberg for 10 minutes, which was really exciting. I have to
That
tell
is
you,
really cool.
that's surreal to be on Bloomberg for 10 minutes.
Congratulations. Oh my gosh.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And so those are the things that are causing companies to come to us. But our biggest asset is our strategy around creating. It's a blue ocean strategy. So there's a set of books and an entire framework for business called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it is the thought that the ocean is filled with red from the blood of you fighting your competitors head to head. So why do we do that? We do that because part of it is we're trained to do that in business schools and MBA schools and stuff. That was the way of thinking for a long time. And part of it is our human behavior. We kind of value when we go head to head with a competitor and we beat them.
Well, it's like competition, right? I think that's like inbred in us to do that. We used to
Yes,
compete
part of
for a
this
lot
human
of
part.
things out in the wilderness and to survive. It's a
Right,
survival
right.
instinct. Yeah.
But it's very expensive. You expend a lot of capital. You churn through your people, and a lot of times you don't win, especially if you're not the incumbent. And so, blue ocean strategies, how do you do that? How do you compete? How do you win? And how do you kind of catch your competitors off guard? And so that's what we executed on. And so most of our competitors had no idea we were gaining market share on them. And we waited until we had 5,000 customers before we let anyone know that we were really on their heels. Now I have to deal with them in a different way, but by growing through the Blue Ocean strategy, we were able to build up a network of partners that were incredibly effective for us. So, KT, when you said in the intro, you said SaaS. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know
so
what that
it's
means.
SaaS, and this is what it means: software as a service. So,
Oh,
when
okay.
you buy Microsoft Excel and Office, and when you buy something like that, you're buying a SaaS product, which just means you're getting software that's going to do a service for you.
Right.
Okay.
And so we do early top of the funnel recruitment as a service. So that's SaaS as a service, and our software as a service, which is what people say SaaS. And one of the things that I've learned is that SaaS companies, because you get such great valuations if you do it right, we tend to hyper focus on how to be very, very efficient and also build very specific strategies that help us be that efficient. But you do not have to be a SaaS company in order to focus on that. And I think that's the thing that whenever I'm helping a friend of mine that has a business or whatever, I tell them, I'm like, read books about SaaS companies and read things like Blue Ocean Strategy. And while you don't have to be a SaaS company, but take away what it's saying about how do you deal with competitors.
The message,
And
it's more than that. Yeah.
right, yeah. Listen to the business lesson that's in there, because that business lesson can be applied to
I
anything.
love that. Could we go back to when you said that your business almost died 4 times, and you used the
Yeah.
word enduring, but you have to be very resilient. We talked about perseverance, and you said something the other night. Would you mind talking about that and expand on enduring and how you got there and what you did?
Yeah. I mean, so I have learned from watching other people. I'll include myself in this. I am not the smartest person. There's a lot of people on my team that are smarter than me. I am. I persevere though. I don't quit. There's plenty of times where I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get out of this one. This one's difficult. But we as humans always have another gear. And I don't think that there's not going to always be someone that's going to be there to support you or be able to tell you that. You've got to be able to tell yourself, like, I have another gear. I just have to take 2 steps back for a minute and, not panic and just start working the problem. But my number one thing that I hire for my own team, and the number one thing that I tell other founders if they're trying to build a company, is you have to persevere. And if you will persevere continually, you will win. It may take you longer. You may win a little bit differently than you thought, but you will win. And I used to think it was resiliency is what I was looking for. And what I realized is resiliency is you fell down and you got back up. And that's ideal. Like, that's what we all hope is going to happen. You're going to fall and you're going to get back up and you're going to be resilient. But the bigger truth usually is you fall down, you start to get back up again, and you get pushed back down again. And then you're going to, all right, I'm going to get back up again. And then, nope, you get pushed down again by something else. And at that moment, we feel like we have failed, but actually we have not failed. You only fail when you stop trying to get back up, because the thing I have learned is you will eventually get back up. You just have to keep trying. And if you give up, now you're going to stay down. And the staying down is where we end up really faltering in a lot of different ways. So I have this weird view of it when when something's happening. So I'm on and up and something happens and I fall down and I think, okay, I'm probably going to have to push back 4 or 5, 6 times before I'm all the way back up again. I just know that in my head. My expectation is it's coming. There's going to be another one, then there's going to be another one, and there's going to be another one. and I'm just ready for it. And then with each one, I think I'm closer to getting all the way back up again. It's like a different mindset.
Yeah. It's I think you have to have a lot of grit to get through that too, because I think perseverance is good, but you have to get grit. You have to be gritty sometimes to get through it.
I mean, I guess so, but it's so we are completely in control of this. This is literally a mental
I agree with that.
state.
I agree with that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be born with grit or someone trained you to have grit, or you just have to decide to have it. It is literally that simple.
Why don't
I just learned that recently.
and why don't more people do it?
I think because no one thought about it like this. I think that no one thought that there's almost like a formula. It's like, fine, I literally get pushed down every week.
Yeah.
About something, and sometimes weeks are really bad, and sometimes weeks are like, okay, this one's not so bad. And when we have a good moment, we celebrate it because we know the other part's coming.
Absolutely.
Like just how it happens. But if you get back up faster and you accept that you're about to get knocked down again, and you just know it's coming, and you just go, so this is, people don't like this. I don't know. I don't think KT will care, but I always say embrace the suck.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
Like embrace it. It's like, it's going to happen. Yeah. Soak it all in, own it, and just go, it's fine. I'm closer to the big up coming.
So KT and I used to live near each other, and there's a pretty big hill up that you have to, well, it's not a huge hill, but it's Albuquerque Hill, whatever. And I used to run that hill all the time, and I would sprint up the hill and I would walk down the hill. And I think that's life. You have to run the hills to get through it because they're hard and it sucks. Embrace the suck. But guess what? Once you get to the top of that hill, I get to walk. I get to walk down and have a coast, a celebration. So that's what I run the hills and walk the downside.
So my favorite Marine Corps t-shirt, I still have it. Anytime I see anything that has this saying on it, I buy it. It says, "Pain is weakness leaving the body."
Oh, I love that.
And it is so true. So when I am, whether it be working out or whatever, it doesn't matter, but the pain is the weakness leaving the body. And that's why I focus on, I'm like, it's just weakness and it's getting out of me. And, that's what you've got to deal with. But you are going to fail if you are in business. Like you are.
Absolutely.
It's just all how you deal with it.
I agree. And that's not just a business skill, that's a life skill.
Right. I think that people, sometimes I think people don't apply as much information, research, whatever, to their personal life as they do their business life, though. So at least a lot of people I know, right? So a lot of them are founders and they're all focused on their business. So if you can figure this out in your business, it's much easier to me, I think, to apply to your personal
and
life.
If you don't, you have conflict.
Right. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, use the same principles. They obviously are there for a reason. That's the principle.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So before we wrap this up, I was wondering if a corporation or business wanted to use your company. Do you vet them? Do they just go to your website? How does it work? I mean, what's the steps of it?
Yeah, so people go to our website or they will reach out through a partner or something. But most people go through our website and they literally submit a very simple form, answers questions. Has about 4 questions on it. And that reaches my team. And then what the team does is they look at where are the jobs, what type of jobs are there, and do we have the candidates and applicants for those jobs? If we don't have them, then when we contact the company, we say, these jobs will take us, let's say, a month and a half probably to start filling because we've got to build up the network specifically for what your jobs are. But because we've been in business for so long now, we generally have the networks already built. We just have to activate them a bit. And then we always tell the companies that we're going to work with them on their job descriptions because I would say 95% of job descriptions have some fatal flaws. And those fatal flaws might attract people, but they don't attract people that the company has said that they're looking for, which is very different. And there's the words we use really matter, and that's in person, person to person speaking, but also in job descriptions. And so if you don't ask for what you want, you're going to get something that you don't want. And it seems really simple, but that's what ends up happening. People, I gave the example to a new hire that we had yesterday. I said, some people's nightmare would be working in Excel spreadsheets all day, every day, creating pivot tables, creating charts. All they do all day is Excel. That is one person's hell.
Oh.
It is another person's absolute dream job. There you go. So having so there's three of us. One person on the call is like, I hate this. Another person on the call loves it, and I'm neutral on it. I'm like, whatever, I have to do it.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the example for appeal to the person that you really want. And what most job descriptions do is they try to find this middle range.
They're so policy procedurally written. Like,
we're like, let's just be honest.
What are you looking for? It's like dating. Tell me what you're looking for. Boom, boom, boom.
It's very much like dating. But much like dating, a lot of people don't know what they're looking for. And so they are asking for the wrong things. And so we try to help them narrow down what do you really want? Okay, I don't think you really want that because you already said this other thing. So there's some things that we go through as an exercise with our new customers where we get to know them better. They get to know how our technology works, and then we apply that. And then more so, we do a lot of A/B testing. And we let the data point to what we should be doing more of and what we should be doing less of. Data will tell you. One of the greatest examples has been, as of late, the job descriptions that performed well in 2019 and the ones that performed well in 2022, totally different job descriptions.
Oh, wow.
For the exact same job.
For the same thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Completely different because people care about different things.
Yeah.
People used to care. Where is the office located? What kind of perks do I have at the office? Do I have my own desk? Am I in
do I have an office? That was I wanted an office.
Door, that whole thing. Or now is the job remote? If the job is remote, fully remote, 10 times the number of qualified applicants will apply for it.
Are you serious?
10 times, yep.
See, that is hell to me. I would hate to work remotely.
Right. Okay. But you are very rare. So are you an extrovert?
Yes.
Okay. Extroverts can't stand to work remotely.
Uh-uh.
To them, it is just absolutely sucks the life out of them.
It does.
It's so funny that you say that, Angela. A couple days ago, I just got a new job.
Yes.
And I told them that I wanted to work remotely. They didn't even balk. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Well, and a company that doesn't balk at it also has learned that they have to trust their people. And they don't hire people that they don't trust. So they're like, fine, if you want to work from home, work from home. We have 100% remote team, and our team, we have to get together at some points in time, but generally people are excited about it because they haven't gotten to see each other. So it's like a exciting moment, and we have a good time, and we're with each other for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then we are all go back to being remote again. But we're a tech company. It's very easy for us to do that.
You're always doing that. That's what you do, and you do it well.
Right.
So,
but if you're a manufacturing firm, or if you're a retail store or whatever, the people have to be there. I mean, that's still a thing where it's necessary. So I do think that as in general speaking, that we as business leaders have got to figure out how to better accommodate the working style of the people that work for us. Because some people get a lot more done when they're working from home. Others, it kills them. They can't work from home.
And people have different hours that they are productive
Right.
in. And I think that's another key component is making sure that you offer that flexibility of the time, because some people, they are awesome from like 6 to midnight or whatever. I can't function. I'd rather work earlier in the morning.
Right.
And then again in the afternoon, I have like a 4-hour period in the morning, and then I have a 4-hour period in the afternoon with a break in between of a couple hours. That's where I'm most productive. But that's not a traditional 9 to 5.
Well, most people don't know when they're most productive. That's another thing is when you've been put in kind of like a box where you're like, I have to work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You've never even
I'm only productive between 4 and 6 in the evenings.
4 and 6.
2 hours.
2 really productive hours.
I get a lot accomplished.
Don't tell my new boss that. So, Angela, I follow you on Facebook. I kind of have a girl crush on you. And recently you won the Outstanding Alumni Award at Texas A&M. And when I saw that, after I'd followed you for, a couple of years now, and just thought you were so cool. And then at that point, I reached out to Cody. And I'm like, Cody, you got to check out this chick. She's so awesome. Do you remember
She did.
that?
She sent me like a picture and a screenshot because I didn't have Facebook at the time.
Yeah.
So she sent me a screenshot, and then I was like, I want to check her out. And then I follow you on LinkedIn. Now I do.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm a fan, and I really appreciate you coming on board and inspiring me. Honestly,
Thank you.
You have a great energy. I wish you all the success. Hopefully this helps your success along the road.
Of course. I mean, I think I've been always amazed about how things happen in this world. And I love the fact that you follow what we're doing as a company and what I'm trying to do. The award at A&M was, I have to tell you, when they told me I was nominated for it, I was like, are you sure?
Say what now?
I don't know. Okay. And I was like, okay, look, you just need to embrace the fact you were nominated for it. You can't have expectations that you're going to win this, because I was not a stellar student. I was working full time and going to school. Some of my grades were okay. I absolutely loved my profession. And I think I've always really loved to learn, regardless of whether it would be at school or reading books or whatever. I mean, I think, there's just so much in the world that's interesting that I wish I could learn more faster.
I know. Just data dump it right into my brain.
Yeah. It's just, there's just so many cool things that I haven't even touched on yet. So but the biggest thing about this whole deal is the man that I probably most respect in the world, other than my husband, was the person that nominated me. Oh. And so to me, I won when that happened. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay,
because you won his respect.
That's right. I mean, if he will pick me out of everyone else, and he had never nominated anyone, and he has had this opportunity to nearly every year. The fact that he picked me, I was like, okay, I've won, even if I don't actually win, publicly or whatever.
Right.
For me. And then so this is also funny. My schedules are very busy, and during the week, I'm really bad about not answering my phone, unless it is one of my kids, one of my team. That's it, or my husband. So those are the calls that get through. Otherwise, I don't answer my phone. Mm-hmm. And I think I thought someone was trying to sell me a car warranty, because I didn't recognize the phone, and so it must be a car warranty offer.
Yeah.
And finally, my husband gets a phone call from my mentor and says, "Does she not answer her phone?" And he's like, "No, she doesn't." And he's like, well, they're trying to call to tell her that she won the award, and she won't ever answer.
That's hilarious.
They've been trying to call me for 3 weeks. I felt so bad. I was like,
did they leave a message?
I don't
check voicemails.
I just don't even bother. Anyway,
that's so funny.
I was like, well, I didn't recognize the number, and I didn't have an executive assistant yet. I have one now that knows everything about my life, and so
he's great.
We love him. He's wonderful. So helpful.
Yes. Have to tell you a funny bias story. Okay, so I'm going to find my own executive assistant.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that went down.
And I am difficult to work for in the fact that I book back-to-back things and I rarely leave a gap. And so he has to do things like, now is the time you'll need to go to the bathroom. You have 90 seconds. I mean, it's like that, you know? So I'm looking for this person. This person also has to embrace our Scottish Terrier. His name is Sully. He's also the company mascot. He's very demanding. And so he's a pup. He's 18 months old, so he's not super old, right? He's still puppy-like.
Still a puppy, excited, energy all the time.
Yeah. Like, and demanding, very demanding. And has to deal with my entire team, has to deal with my schedule, has to try to book weird travel coordination stuff and
podcast interviews.
Yeah. And I thought this is going to be a really hard job. So we write the job description. We're interviewing. Oh, and they have to come to where I am, wherever I go. So,
all the time.
Yeah. So they've got to always be with me. So that's not easy either. So we get the applicants come through. We use our system to do all of this. And I say, okay, I'll take the top 5 or 10 or whatever. And I interview some incredible people, but he was ranked number 1. And I was like, what? Because in my head, I had envisioned that my executive assistant was going to be a woman. I have no idea why I thought this. And I interviewed a lot of other people before I interviewed him. And then I was like, what am I doing? I'm doing the exact thing that everyone else does when they use our system, which is I'm like not wanting to face my own bias.
That's great. I love it.
And so he comes in, and sure enough, he comes in, when he shows up for the interview, has a great handshake, incredibly polite. He's interviewing at our house, and we had just moved in, and our house was being restored. It's a 100-year-old craftsman, and so the contractor stuff was still everywhere. And so as he's walking up the door, he's like straightening things. He's picking up the paper. He's grabbing my mail.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So
clone him.
Right, exactly.
And send him my way.
Yeah. And so he comes in, he brings me a little succulent plant for a gift. And he chased me after he applied. He chased me for this job. He sent connections on LinkedIn every 3 days. He would remind me that he was still waiting to talk to me. So it wasn't like weird, like stalky too much, but I never was able to forget about him because it was every 3 days, like clockwork, And the last day before I called to have him come in for an interview, I said, I wonder if he's going to, I said to myself, all right, this is another day 3 window. If he has messaged me again today, I will know that he's on a system for himself, which is what I need.
Yes.
And so I'm going to definitely interview him. And like clockwork, at exactly 11 o'clock that day, in pops the message, right? And so he's just very consistent and very resilient in his own. So interviewed him. He was perfect. He's been with us for 6 months, and my entire team has really benefited from him being there. But I had this bias, and I told him when I interviewed him, I said, I got to just be transparent with you. I said, because you did this, this, and this, which is why you're still sitting, you're here having this interview. I said, but you should have been interviewed last week. And I said, and I didn't interview you because I, for whatever reason, thought that I would hire an executive assistant that was a woman. And I don't even know why I thought that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part I try to get across to people is I am like the thought leader on the topic, and I still do it because I'm human.
But you recognized it, so that's half the battle.
It's so frustrating, though. It's very frustrating to just realize how human you are sometimes when you want to be better, But
yeah.
Or sometimes it is good to recognize you are human. Sometimes you need that.
Yeah. Well, I'm reminded so many times a day. I'm going to forget that one.
That's too funny.
I will say this, though. if people wanted to reach out to us, you asked me earlier, is
Yes.
If they go to thiswayglobal.com and they submit a request for information, I will tell you, we do not hound people. We just very simply say, we'd love to talk to you. This is what we do. And we give them a calendar where they get to book when they want to talk. I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people want help, but they're afraid to reach out because they're afraid they're going to get bombarded with marketing, and we just don't do that. I will say that we do not take companies that do multi-level marketing or jobs that are known to be scammy.
Sure.
So we won't take those, but most of those companies kind of self-deselect. They know that they won't go through the process. But we have companies that really have major problems, that have done some things unintentionally, but they've done some things that have not been great for their reputation or whatever. And we have them as clients because they're trying to change, they're trying to do better. And, we have to be able to help them. And we have others that just have absolutely stellar reputations. And you would think, why do they even have to have us? But they do, because they said it gives them confidence that no matter who is using the system is keeping it fair. They're not having to rely on a person to be compliant. And I think that's also a strong recognition that as humans, we're imperfect. And so
yeah, that's interesting.
Technology can help us.
I love that. Thank you so much. We want to give you your time back. I know that you're a very busy person, but thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story. And
yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being who you are. You're very inspiring.
Oh, I really appreciate being invited, and very kind of you both to say. I think that I'm just trying to fix a problem that a lot of people want fixed, and being able to come on podcasts helps us get that message out and helps people, if a person can get a job because they think of things differently now, or if a person gets hired because an employer can think of things different, then it was absolutely worth the time to come on.
Absolutely. Education's half the battle.
That's right.
Keep learning. Keep learning.
Last thought, you should really venture into dating apps with your technology. I think it really helped them.
Oh my God, please.
Wouldn't that be the best?
It's horrible. Anyway, thank you again. And good luck with your boy. Thank you for everything. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today on What You Gotta Do. I want to thank our guest, Angela Hood, and enlightening us and inspiring us in all her ways. And remember to take action and claim freedom.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. I hope everyone will reach out to us if you're interested in finding out more. It's thiswayglobal.com, and we would love to hear from you.
I will have the link in all of our on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and SoundCloud for you as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you and have a great day.
All right, guys, you too. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to What You Gotta Do. The music for this podcast is written, produced, and performed by Joe Steitler. Production manager and host for What You Gotta Do podcast is Cody Hardy. Creative director is Matt Johnson. I'm KT Johnson, your co-host and editor. This has been a hell of a production.
What you gotta do is listen!